From America's beautiful coastal beaches to the hilltops of mountains far reaching, or even the gorgeous look of red rock in the desert, to a nice, vibrant day in a buzzing major metropolitan city, Americans are talking, and well, they're working too. And no matter which way a state votes, we're all still Americans in this large country of 300 million people. So here today to bring you America's perspectives are Matt Curran, Javen Polson, Gabriela Escudero, and Michelle Beretta on Coast to Coast Conversations.
Yes, sir. We welcome everybody into a special edition of Coast to Coast Conversations because we know everyone's going to be around the dinner table on Thanksgiving Day. So we don't want to bug you. We want you to listen to us now while you're driving in the car, flying in that airplane, maybe taking Amtrak. I don't know if Amtrak's even still a thing, but go into your family's house for the weekend. This is a time we just want to take to promote our show. Subscribe, like it, share it on Instagram, YouTube, X. We've got my show, The Matt Curran Show, which we're going through a series of top 10 best political comebacks. We just released number 9 yesterday and number 10 last week. So go and check that out on our YouTube page. And then Clayton and Javen have a financial show where they walk you through the latest on finances around the country, whether that be stock market or crypto. And then Gabriela, you have a show as well.
Yeah, so it's called An American Latina, and we talk about the route to success in America. So go check it out.
That's right. Where can they find you for that?
So you can find it at An American Latina, just like the sign says right here.
At American Latina. I got you. All right, cool. Well, let's start it off with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is having a lot higher favorability than most people would like, or I won't say most people would like, that most of the Democrats would like. And they're sort of in a panic mode after this election. I got a clip here. If we got 2 clips, actually, we'll play one of them, get a reaction, and we'll throw the other one in at some point during discussion.
Also, I heard what you're saying about X. I saw a survey this week. It's now the most ideologically balanced user platform.
Scott, stop. It's too early. I just sat down. I've only been here for 2 minutes.
You're going to be embarrassed.
You cannot
I played the wrong one. Okay, sorry. Wrong CNN one. Got CNN. Here's the right one.
Take a look here. President Trump's transition net approval. You go back to November of 2016. Look at this. It was just at plus 1 point. Just at plus 1 point. That is well below the historical norm. Look at where we are today. Significantly higher. Plus 18 points. That's 17 points higher on the presidential transition net approval rating. The bottom line is this. If 8 years ago Americans were lukewarm on Donald Trump, at this particular point, they're giving him much more the benefit of the doubt. A lot more Americans are in love with this transition. This much more meets the historical norms where normally presidents get that boost coming out of their victory. And what we're seeing here is Donald Trump's presidential transition is getting a thumbs up, and dare I say, 2 thumbs up from the American people.
And you know, that is from CNN too. You're up 1 point. You lose 2 million in the popular vote in 2016, and he's just grown from 2020, grow to 2024. Michelle.
Yeah, I think it's actually incredible to see. As normal polls happen at the end after election, ratings typically go up. I was just looking over the New York Post's article about how he had gone up to a 54% rating compared to 46 who disapprove of him, which according to, and compared to 2020, he never cracked 50%. So I'm thinking, this is a track that we like to see. I think America is hopeful to be on the right path forward, and time will tell, right? After he's not in there yet, we still have the Biden-Harris administration in there, but I'm hopeful, because especially with when an election is ran and you spend $1 billion to lose an election and you're still 20 million in debt, I think we're in a good spot. Gabriela, what do you think? You're on mute.
You're unmuted.
When I think about favorability, I think back to when, excuse me, when Trump, like when he would come out in the videos and like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and he was just like this famous guy, right? He was like totally favored by America. But then we saw that when he got into politics and ran for president, that began to change. They started to call him racist and this and that. And so, anyways, it's just crazy because they really did make a dent in that area. However, because America was just so bad within that 4 year Biden Harris slash Harris. I want to remind people Biden slash Harris administration, people were like, yeah, we prefer Trump. So then they started to like him again. They were kind of like, okay, can we just kind of like get Trump back into office, please? Like we like him again. So, anyways, that's what I think of when I think of Trump being favored. I think of pretty much God kind of being like, all right, let's give you something else, and then people being like, never mind, let's bring him back.
Well, you bring up a good point. Is Trump's favorability because either we've gotten used to him and we like Trump now, like as Americans, like have we just said, hey, we just like Trump, or is it because is he compared to the alternative? He's just better than Biden Harris. We're just like, yeah, he's better. That's why we like him.
I personally think that it's a little bit of both. So you think about his campaign. His campaign, I think those last couple months were so crucial. I mean, he went through getting shot at, and not dying. He went to McDonald's. He was like at the trash services, and I don't know, like it's wild the how much he related to the United States of America, to middle class Americans, right? To the voter, to we the people. And so I think people really got to see a different side of him. But yet at the same time, there's still those that knew that all along, he was still a great guy no matter what.
Well, if you look at the internal polling too, from prior to the election, new reports are coming out that the Harris campaign knew that the polling numbers were not in her favor, and it's now coming out slowly that they knew ahead of time. So all the money in the world couldn't buy her campaign, couldn't buy her election.
Yeah, it does come down to candidate quality on Kamala Harris's side. I argue part of it. Well, okay, so January 6th happens. Let's just be honest. He was a political kryptonite. You wanted to stay away from it. It was just bad, right? I think when he began his campaign after January 6th, after leaving office, that's when he really decided he was going to run for office, and he started working the party to bring it back together, mustering through 2022. To me, the key signal for him having gained popularity was the abortion issue, which we'll get into later. He signaled, I'm gonna own the middle on this issue more than ever before after the Roe versus Wade overturning thing. I think him going out into the middle didn't allow more social media attacks on him, crazy leftists sort of protesting him because he's like, hey, I'm the middle. I'm the middle. And I can run and say to the right people, I've got Roe versus Wade overturned. So I think him owning policy issues on the middle and just having fun and people realizing that there is some sort of compare and contrast, like Gabriella said. I do think there's a mix of both of that. I'm going to try and see, because I got these clips in. Maybe I miscalculated.
So does anyone else think that there?
No, that's the wrong one. I think I just downloaded both of them twice. I'm sorry, Michelle. Let's just talk about abortion. Let's just talk about it now. Gabriella.
Yes.
Abortion bill.
Yep. So we have this kind of controversial thing. Speaking of abortion, this was the perfect transition, right? I believe that to your point, real quick, before we transition fully, you think about the Overton window. And so staying within those ranges, right? Back in the day in history, you'd have never been able to get through with ending slavery so easily. There had to have been room created for that. And so I feel like he understands that he had to stand somewhere at this current time, even though that might not be his actual personal view on it, if that makes sense. And so that comes with being a politician. That comes with that. And so sometimes you might look bad on your views because of that. But with abortion being mentioned, we talk about it's called the, I don't know why it's so hard for me to say this word, but mm, okay, we're not gonna try. But anyway, it's a chemical abortion. It's also known as RU486. Okay, and so basically, you can take it up to 10 weeks. Now, when this is so easy to get that they could even send it to you in the mail. Can you believe that? A pill to end a pregnancy in the mail. That's crazy. And so these pills have actually killed about 24 women. And so, the question is, it's controversial. Like, should this be passed or should it not be passed? Should we allow this to happen or should we not allow this to happen? I don't know. What do you think, Michelle?
Well, first of all, I'm just making sure that we're getting clarification. You're not talking about Plan B. Are you talking about? You're talking about the abortion pill in general and whether
the misoprostol is what it's called. It's not the Plan
correct.
B. It's a 10-week.
The 10-week where you take your first dose of the misoprostol, and then within 72 hours you take the follow-up dose, which will then terminate the rest of the rest of the pregnancy. Good. Okay. I don't think that should be allowed anyway. I'm a pro-lifer. I think, in rare instances and in rare cases, should there be an exception? Absolutely, because there's always an exception to the rule. The rule should not be made around the exception, though. That being said, I don't think the government should regulate it. I don't think it should be part of that. However, on the flip side, if it's covered in the state through their HSA or through if it's allowed in their state, I don't know that I see a problem with it. I morally don't think that it's okay, of course, but if it's up to the states and it's up to what they so choose, I mean, at the end of the day, we may not feel like we want that to happen, but I don't think we should stop them. And I honestly think, and this sucks, but I do think that those types of things, if it's allowed in your state, should be covered under HSA stuff. Because if you look at the full list of what you can buy with your HSA card, I mean, they have a whole Amazon shop for it, that you can use your HSA and your FSA for. So I'm torn because I'm morally against it, but at the same time, it goes back to the state's rights and the state's rules. And if the states allow it, unfortunately, through all of my gritted teeth, I have to say, okay.
Well,
I was going to say, morally, right? There's that thing, like, it's like morally, or you have to look at it from like different points of views. And so it does become very difficult. But I want to know what you have to say, Matt. What do you think about it?
I have multiple opinions. So, obviously, Congress never voted on this. This is just one of those executive branch unilateral decisions. The FDA approves it, doesn't approve it. I do approve. I do want some sort of reins back on the federal government, where if the FDA is going to approve or not approve something that's controversial, then we need our congressional members of Congress to vote on it, so we can hold them accountable or not accountable based on state representation thereof. I think that's very important. That rather than every 4 years we got to flip on it. Same with the HSA thing. The Bush administration, when the HSAs rolled out, they said, no, you can't use abortions for HSAs. Obama administration said you could, and then Trump. I mean, it's just going to keep flipping back and forth. Just this way allows more consistency. Like, why can't Congress vote on HSAs and not? Obviously, I don't think you should be able to pay for transgender surgeries under HSA or abortion under HSA. The moral argument, I think, is where I disagree with Michelle the most, just because our founding fathers understood that you need some sort of moral code in order to hold a society together, right? Whether that be a religion or and you can make the argument, and I would accept that as far like state moral codes, right? That we have that. But if a state's banned abortion, like in Louisiana, it's completely banned, or Texas, then there's got to be some sort of mechanism that the federal government can't just be blocks from the mail these pills going into those states, because then you're not honoring the state right fully that way, right? From their like moral code that they've decided in their state. Does that make sense? Because look, if you can do it on a fantasy football app, like,
and I mean, and that's a great point, Matt, because then it opens up a wider conversation of interstate travel and interstate commerce. You know, when you talk about medical interstate commerce and things like that. No, it makes sense, and it does absolutely. How do you,
right
for
now,
lack of a better term, how do you split the baby?
right? Yeah,
You know, I mean,
yeah.
because on one side, you know, I don't believe that we should be having abortions on demand as a form of birth control. And I definitely don't think that. I think 10 weeks is too long to, you know, for those types of pills. And but for me, if it's to save the life of a mother, and I mean, truly, that's not, in my eyes, that's not an abortion then.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that it definitely, I mean, for me personally, plain and clearly, I don't believe that these should pass or be available for sure. I think they are unsafe to just come in the form of a mail like that. I think that's crazy. To end life, right? That's and not just that, but you're drinking this as a woman. I think about my daughters, and I want them to be okay and be safe. So when I think about the possibilities of just them being able to easily, hey, send it through the mail, is crazy to me. And then two, I don't think that they should be provided by any type of insurance or HSAs, just because I don't believe that that should be paying for the ending of a life when it's supposed to be life healthcare, right? So that's my personal views, and then we can get into the whole, well, what is life and what is the baby or all that, but that's a whole nother subject.
And it goes. This is the question for the second Trump administration. Okay, what are these secretaries, these cabinet members that Trump's going to appoint, going to do? Okay, because Pete Hegseth, these defense secretaries, guarantee you they're going to say no abortions for military personnel ever. Right? That's what previous Republican administrations have done. Right? If you're a girl and you get pregnant in the military, nope, can't do it. It's not going to be covered by the United States. But on the other hand, is RFK going to allow this as HUD or as a HSS secretary? Right? I already foresee there's going to be some inconsistencies in the Trump administration on abortion, and I get it. Right now, you're sort of you've got the populace, you got the popular vote. You don't want to rock the baby. There are things the federal government can do on abortion. Like, it doesn't always go to the states. How do you manage the territories in the District of Columbia? The federal government absolutely could do that. Is it politically the right thing to do it? No, right? Because territories don't have rights. They're under the United States government, right? This abortion pill access. 2/3 of all abortions now are done through this abortion pill. So that's so there has to be a way. Look, if you're pro-life, you look at this as a game like I am. How do we stop this legally in simultaneously changing hearts and minds?
Yes, through education. I agree with you, Matt. Through education, and I was actually looking at the numbers. I'm surprised I didn't write it down, but it was like a huge amount of of abortions that was actually made through this pill. It was like the majority of abortions. So yeah, but that's my take on it. That's the take that I have on the whole situation with either being able to pass it through or it going through with HSA or any type of insurance.
Yeah, and it is frustrating that it's not voted on by members of Congress. Like, we have to look at, you just look, and this isn't just abortion, this is a policy overall. Like, I just hate saying the Obama administration or Bush administration, like, as if I can't hold anyone accountable. Like, I can't hold my representative accountable, vote them out, or have an honest debate in my local community about it. Because let's say Trump bans the abortion pill, right? Or does something, and the next administration opens it up. How am I supposed to hold my congressperson accountable? How can my district, how can my state have an honest debate about this for somebody I would like to send to Congress to vote on in a certain way? So it's the same thing Roe versus Wade did. Ultimately, was it robbed the people of an honest conversation, right? It robbed us of a true debate. And so we now have 50 years of the left's sort of garbage on the debate infiltrated into the minds of American society, of this understanding that it's a right and all this stuff. And so now it sort of changed the debate, obviously, but it robbed us of the debate at the time that should have never occurred. If anyone has any last thoughts on that, we can before we go to the next subject. Nobody else? Okay.
No, I'm good.
We're good. Now we go from the beginning of life all the way to the end of life, which is for some of folks. For some folks, we go to the death penalty. We're just debating life all around, y'all.
Woo! All right.
What a transition!
It depends on how bad you were. If you made Santa's naughty list, you might be put on death row, which is what we're talking about, the death penalty. Okay, so make sure you don't get any lumps of coal in your stocking in your cell or penitentiary this Christmas, and you should be okay. But the big debate over the death penalty is over this Lincoln Riley murderer conviction. A lot of folks really wanted the death penalty for this guy, an illegal immigrant, obviously. I have one clip here I play just to sort of round out like the convictions of what this guy was convicted of, in addition to illegally crossing the border multiple times of being convicted.
Count 1, malice murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 2, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 3, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 4, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 5, kidnapping with bodily injury. I find the defendant guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault with intent to rape. I find the defendant guilty. Count 7, aggravated battery. I find the defendant guilty. Count 8, obstructing or hindering a 911 call. I find the defendant guilty. Count 9, tampering with evidence. I find the defendant guilty. Count 10, peeping Tom. I find the defendant guilty.
So that's all the stuff he was. That's all the stuff he was found guilty of. Obviously, very horrendous things. I mean, this is all in addition to basically stalked the girl and went on a jog, and very vicious, sad, and how your heart doesn't break for this family and how the Biden administration can ignore this is beyond me.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely sad. And, we see cases like even hers, right? Where, I forgot the name of a child, but she was a 12-year-old who was raped and murdered, and her mother found her in a park. And it's so sad to see these things that are happening. And you can't, as a mother, I have 4 children, I can't even bear to think like what that feels like. And so yeah, it's a very like sad situation. I can't even imagine.
17 minutes. So that's what they say. 17 minutes she fought for her life. I don't know what this man's history is. And we talk about the death penalty and capital punishment. I believe he has a history of violent offenses. I believe he was also given a work visa, if memory serves me correct, after he was already had that history of violence. I think it was a domestic violence, but they still issued him a work right to work or whatever allowed him to
permit.
a work permit. Thank you. But as I do believe in the death penalty, I do believe in capital punishment, and I know there's a couple of us that don't believe in it, but I don't know that this crime totally fits it in my, I guess, under my moral aptitude, right? He doesn't have He doesn't have the history. He doesn't have the background. And yes, he's got the potential to commit offenses again, but I don't think that that should be a death penalty sentence. Now, on the other hand, you look at like the Idaho murderers in that Brian Kohlberger case out of Idaho, where he went in and cold-bloody, allegedly killed those 4 college girls. Now, he doesn't have a history either, but the severity of his crime, murder is murder, death is death. But there's not that there should be a count on it, but there's more than one. The act and manner of the way it's done. I believe he deserves the death penalty versus I don't know, because I don't know enough of his history. And at the flip side, the Brian Kohlberger doesn't have a history of it, but he's a sociopath, and his premeditation of the whole thing, murder's murder, but there should be some I don't know, prerequisites, I guess, for almost like a checklist of you've got to have X, Y, and Z in order to be put up for death penalty. Now in Wisconsin, we haven't had the death penalty or that in a long time, and I believe there's 27 states that still currently hold people on death row, with California being the most at over 600. I think it's like 681, if memory serves me correct. And the average lifespan of somebody on death row is 22 years. So, I mean, it used to be way back when, it used to be the average span was about 6 years. It's now 22 years that you will most likely sit on death row.
Yeah, for me, as far as the death penalty, I hold that 2 things can be true at once. Something can be constitutional, right? And yet I disagree with it. But legally in my state, as a citizen, it can be legal for us to ban it. Like you mentioned, Wisconsin, it's illegal, and other states, it's legal. Because I go back to the founding father, because I'm an originalist when I interpret the Constitution. The Constitution says cruel and unusual punishment. Well, when they ratified the Constitution, what did cruel and unusual punishment mean to them? They had the death penalty at the time. I take the Antonin Scalia approach. Antonin Scalia was personally against the death penalty, but had to rule that it was constitutional when he was on the Supreme Court, and I align with that. As a citizen, I would vote against it because I don't think we need the death penalty in the United States. In other countries, I could see us using it, but we are a first world country. The only time I would be in favor of us using a country, and I use or the death penalty, would be the El Chapo situation. So El Chapo being Mexican drug lord in Mexico, he constantly being captured by the Mexican government, but then is escaping in air-conditioned tunnels, and he runs this big drug gang, still communicating with people and harming people from outside. It was all show. The moment, this is one of the few things I agreed with Barack Hussein Obama with, when he had him extradited to the United States, he's now in a high security maximized prison in Colorado. He can't even contact the outside world with like 5 other people, including Dylan Roof, by the way, big killer in South Carolina. And so now I'm not in favor of his death penalty anymore, because there's still a chance for conversion. As a Christian Catholic, I use Saint Marianne Goretti as an example. She was raped and killed in Italy, and her killer was put in jail, and then 22 years later converted, left, went and met the mother, and there was actually Saint Mary Goretti's canonization in Rome. So those things can happen, and this guy wasn't controlling any gangs. And the reason I say all that is because if you're controlling a gang in that sort of way, you are, by locking you up, or by putting you on death row, we are self-defensing ourselves as a society. Okay? We can easily control that in the United States. We don't have really poor prisons like Mexico does, or like some of these other countries do. I hate that these happen to these people, but I just lock them up for life. In fact, I would even be fine if they don't get contact to the outside world, frankly, even if they did all these horrible things. They don't have to be on death row.
Have you guys watched The Life of David Gale?
No. Who is
that about?
No?
Tell
Oh my
me.
God. Okay.
I got to write it down.
Yeah, you guys have to watch it. So it's a movie, and it's just basically a story, and it's like I don't, please don't mark me for this, but I really believe it is actually real. And so basically, it's plotted out to where the guy. Long story short, I won't ruin it, but they ended showing how death penalty was basically not righteous because it could end up killing someone that didn't deserve it. And so watch the movie and then let me know what you think about it. That movie irritated me, but it made me think a lot. And so with what Matt was saying, Christian, with, as a Christian, I believe that it's not okay. It's not the right thing to do, right? However, if you look at the history, if you look at the Bible, there was instances where the children of God had to kill people. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'm just saying. But that's why I think, like, to me, it's a very, like, I don't know. It just depends, really. It really depends. But if I had to pick one, I'm not for it. I'm against the death penalty. I don't believe we should, you know, do that. I don't believe we should tell people when they should be put to death. I believe that's from God. And that's my Christian side. Do I believe people deserve it? Absolutely. Some people absolutely deserve it. But I guess that's where you have to really look at it from different points of views, right? And like I'm seriously, like, when I saw this story, I was at a Trump rally and I was in tears. Everyone in there was in tears, and it was just the saddest thing. And I could just remember that feeling. And I remember when they talked about the death penalty, all these people shot up excited, and I was like, hold on, like, I'm not for the death penalty. Like, this is crazy. I didn't realize how many people were for the death penalty. I didn't realize.
Yeah, well, according to the Pew Research Center, 61% of Hispanic Catholics are favor the death penalty, and what does it say? White Catholics, 56%, according to their research. So, I mean, I I'm okay with it because I am one of those that I don't believe you deserve to be here if you're not going to be not deserve to be here if you're not going to be a productive member of society. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if you've done that sort of, there's a line you don't cross. Murder, 100%. Murder multiple times, like you mentioned Dylan Roof.
Mhm.
He should get the death penalty. He should absolutely. No, and then Matt, and you had said about locking them up for life. Then we had talked about the coulda, woulda, shouldas, but say El Chapo, he's alive. He may be in solitary confinement. Is that cruel and unusual punishment because you're locking this person up alone in solitary confinement? I dated a correctional officer who before I met my husband, who would come home with stories of being in of inmates being in uh oh, that word forgets me now, in personal confinement. What's the word? I'm
Solitary confinement.
Thank you. Solitary confinement. Um, those folks they go crazy in a short amount of time too. So
I was
I'm
gonna say that's punishment enough. Like, just lock them up. That's worse. Like, they gotta deal with it. Like, they
Get
gotta.
him out of here. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
I'm one of those, give the St. Paul. Give
Michelle's
them a
like,
chance
let's
to
not
convert it.
spend our tax dollars anymore on them.
But
I mean,
you
you think about it. I mean, and unfortunately, now you had mentioned about the innocent folks. Now, I do understand, and there have been, I believe, 183 overturned death penalties overturned due to new evidence or due to certain things. Who was it that recently just I don't want to say that it was overturned, but you look at, like the Menendez brothers. That's a huge case going on right now. Two brothers that murdered their parents. They aren't on death row, but they were convicted in life. They they had their conviction, the new evidence came up. So now they're going to be able to have a new trial. Look at the Jussie Smollett case that was just overturned. I know I'm going off on a tangent that's outside of the death penalty right now, but his conviction was overturned because he had made a deal prior with the prosecutors, or made a deal with the police department, that if he admitted it, he wouldn't be brought up on these charges, and they brought him up on the charges anyway. It's not the fact that he didn't commit that crime. It's the fact that they caught him on a legal loophole, or they tried him anyway, and he's now not convicted anymore and overturned because of the loophole that they found. Yes, it happens. However, again, save it, get them out of here. If they're wasting space like that, I know that sounds really heartless, but at the same time, I don't care if it sounds like I have a heart, if I'm heartless. When you kill somebody and you do what you do, absolutely do not pass go, do not collect $100. You aren't going to have redemption. And I don't believe that you can be redeemed on that. I don't believe murderers can be redeemed. Accidents, unintentional, but at the end of the day, I don't think that man that you had talked about that was redeemed. I don't think he made.
That's my point. Like, if it's not, then why are we making the decision to terminate them, right? Like, why do we? And so, like, that's what I think. That's where I get stuck, and I can't get past that point, because I'm like, okay, but I think about that, and also abortion, right? Like, I'm like fighting for life, and I understand it's different, right? Because they're unborn, but then you have the people who argue, well, what if they're end up being like a sociopath or whatever, and so. Yeah, I guess that's where I get kind of like, I can't get past that point.
So I do think they can be redeemed. God's mercy extends to everybody in every situation, even the worst of us. And this person was redeemed, as he civil citizen in Italy and died in 1960 of natural causes. He was not murdered. The Dylann Roof thing, I want to point out, because when I was living in South Carolina, not many people know this. If Dylann Roof did get the death penalty in South Carolina is the only state you get to choose as the death row inmate which way of the death penalty you want to go, and your options are firing squad or electric chair. So imagine being able to pick your death penalty on death row. Usually it's like they decide for you. It's like pill or firing squad or whatever.
The case in Idaho for the Brian Kohlberg, the murders, they have firing squad or lethal injection. And in order to block that, you had to come up with something else that was just as equal to, I don't know. I don't know how they explained it, but the defense did not. So that's why they can go ahead with one of the two.
My one other point I want to make, I find it goes to a little bit to Michelle's point. Back in the 2000s, a little hypocritical from the Democrat side. Back when the Democrats still owned a partial of the South, right? And I know that's not too long ago, before 2010. We were talking about waterboarding people on Guantanamo. Okay, I'm in favor. Now I know we're going a little weed here, but I'm in favor of waterboarding terrorists. They're not U.S. citizens. I don't think they have rights in them. And plus, we're engaged with them in war, and we capture them there. I would almost be in favor of killing our enemy instead of like our citizens who did something wrong. And I'm in favor of waterboarding them to get information. Remember that whole debate with Dick Cheney and like, is it humane and stuff? To me, if you engage in war and you've killed people against us, we're in combat with you. We don't have any rules, but we're a Western society, so I understand we have to have some rules. The death penalty is different because you're a citizen. We've already captured you. You're confined. The idea is that you're confined and nothing else. You won't be able to harm anybody else from that point, especially if you are a gang leader. But that goes to the 19-
Can I push back on that, Matt?
Sure.
A little bit with you. So you had said that about then the terrorists and waterboarding then because they've killed our people, and you're okay with that. But
because we're combating them in war, like the point.
So El Chapo brought millions of dollars of drugs, which then killed U.S. citizens because of their ODing. Wouldn't that be considered kind of the same, along the same lines? along that same line of thinking.
If we
I mean,
were,
does
if we
it
were
matter?
fighting
Does
them,
it matter how they kill the U.S. citizen, whether it be through drug trade or through war?
well, we had him extradited over here to the United States, but now that he's in our custody, we don't need to do any of that stuff because we're not like physically in a war. We're not like shooting at these people.
What do you mean? We're shooting at?
Like we're not like having tanks going into Mexico and taking on the drug cartel people. Bombing Mexican drug. I mean, we're not doing any of that.
So they have to be actively in a war in order for us to.
I mean, yeah. In order for us to
Euthanize them?
in order for us
Like
to
defense
like
wise.
self-defense. Like, okay, we capture a terrorist. I'm okay with waterboarding to get information. Okay, I said if I had to choose between killing a terrorist or some sort of citizen, I would choose the terrorist. But even waterboarding, like you have to be like, okay, the purpose is to get information from this person. Okay, and then you can use them in a deal, right? You can sort of just like how Trump uses like the tariff things to leverage things to get policy for Mexico, Canada. You leverage, hey, we got your guy, give us X, right? We'll use him as a hostage. Now, I don't think these terrorist people they respond to the hostage thing as much as we do, where our hearts melt more. I feel like they don't care. But yeah, no, I absolutely don't think. I'm more of a humane. I won't say I'm more of a humane person. That's not fair. I look at things more humanely, I guess. It's like as far as okay, I don't want unnecessary killing, and I want to give people a chance. And now I do see your point where you can be so stupid and things, and that happened in the 1988 debate where Michael Dukakis, the debate for the death penalty happened then, where Michael Dukakis, governor of Massachusetts, had a convicted felon of like murder, let him out on the weekends. Willie Horton, if you want to go look up Willie Horton, stupidly, Michael Dukakis lets him out on weekends and he starts raping people. H.W. Bush jumps on that and then just says anybody convicted of murder or rape needs to have the death penalty. I thought both were kind of on the extreme. And I'm like, no, there's a middle to it. Like, how about just lock them up and don't let them out? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. But I was gonna say, like, as much as I am against it, I do get your point, Michelle. Like, I really do understand it. So it's just like, I guess what side you lean on more, because I feel like you're not like, oh, well, I can't wait for them to get the death penalty, but you're like, man, they really do kind of need it, you know? So I get it. I don't know.
I mean, and it there's got to be a line, right? Where is that line? What is that line that will murder? I mean, I just keep saying murder because I mean, at full disclosure, I'll give you guys a little story. My eldest's biological grandmother is a convicted murderer, and she was party to it, according to the history books of it. She was party to it. But the person that actually did the crime, I believe he's already out. He already is doing, whatever he needs to do. They murdered, apparently. They murdered the district attorney's nephew in a drug deal gone bad way back in the 70s. At that time, full disclosure, I mean, I don't see it as a problem. I think, taking you killed the district attorney's nephew, the person who did that. Now, I don't think her grandmother should have received the death penalty at all because she was an accomplice. But the fella who is out now did less time than she did. So she ended up having, I think she spent 22 years in prison, versus the other guy who got out in 15. And she didn't even commit the crime, but because he took the plea deal and he took this and he took that, he did this, that, and the other thing, and she did not. She got sentenced longer, and she didn't. I mean, yes, she was there apparently. I don't know the full story, and everybody that's in jail says that they're innocent, right? So I don't know that we'll ever, and we don't have a relation. We haven't had a relationship with that side of the family in well over a decade. But it's just it's weird to see, and I really think that guy should have gotten he should have gotten the death penalty if we had it in Wisconsin.
Well, it sounds like the issue in this case isn't the death penalty is the problem. It just sounds like the criminal justice system as a whole just needs to put people in for life, right, and just keep them locked up, right? It's not like a DWI where okay, we'll give you a second, third, fourth, fifth. Murder's murder. There's like moral basic of like, hey, do not kill another human being. Okay, if it's a weird, complicated case, like, oh, could it have been self-defense? I don't know. Sure, maybe, but like if it's clear cut, life, like just like life in jail, right?
I don't know. I see it now. We look at like the Christmas parade guy, right? The guy that ran over. We have a guy here in Wisconsin, Daryl Brooks, who is. I believe that this is one case that I wish we had the death penalty in Wisconsin, because that man does not deserve to be here. Even in solitary confinement, losing his marbles, even on our taxpayer dime, he does not deserve to be here. He ran his vehicle through a Christmas parade in downtown Waukesha here, and he literally mowed down people, killing children and grandmas and parents and uncles. I think prime example as to why I think we should, and I think it's okay. No, Matt, you had said we should do all away with it. Now, the government and the U.S. military, the federal government and the U.S. military, also have the death penalty and capital punishment.
That's correct.
Are you saying take those away too? Just abolish the death penalty
Are you saying like within the military?
So the U.S. military and the federal government have the ability to enact capital punishment, the death penalty. Yes.
So like, if Soldier X does something to Soldier B, is that what you're saying? Or are you saying like in combat to like the enemy?
I don't know which ones. I'm thinking more so of like Bin Laden.
Oh.
Like, where, well, no, I mean, he died in the thing, but let me
look. So I think what I'm hearing is we all don't believe it's right to kill, but under Michelle's point of view, there's a lot of different circumstances. Under Matt's view, there's a lot less circumstances. A lot less. Like he has like one possibility. And so I think that's like worst case scenario, right? But I think that's kind of how it is with me too. Like to me, honestly, like I just feel like death penalty wise, where I'm like, yes, I agree, we should take them out. As if like, yeah, like if it was something major, like maybe it was the leader of another country and they were gonna take the United States out or something like that, where it was like we had to make a huge major decision like that. Just because of, again, I'm a very like big history freak, even all the way back to the Bible. I like to read those stories, and really what happens is when you are fighting nation against nation, there has to be a taking out of the ruler. There's a ruler that gets taken out. So I guess that's where I understand Matt's point of view. Like, are we in war, or do we have to do something like that? But when it comes to like crimes, I believe like that's why we have the justice system, and that's why we have jails, and that's why like they'll suffer more in jail anyway. So just leave them in there, lock them up, and that's what I believe.
But I disagree with like people on my side of the argument. Just to be clear, that it's not, because I've heard people on my side say, "Well, it's cruel and unusual. It's unconstitutional." I mean, it's constitutional. I have to stick with my originalism principles. So I mean, I will concede that to Michelle as far as like, there's two things can be true. I can firmly believe something's constitutional and disagree with its policy. I will not change on originalism for the Constitution. Okay, that I stand firm in that. So whenever I see the Supreme Court and I see the liberal justices try to, I might agree with like the policy, but I'm like, that's not the right place for the policy. It should be the states that decide that. That's where I get frustrated, because I'm all about process, procedure. But I think this was a great debate. We can obviously keep going forever. I think we'll have more consensus on the next thing, which is I'm going to play two clips here. They're really quick, of Nancy Mace taking on the first transgender member of Congress from the great state of Delaware and the bathroom thing. So here's Nancy Mace in the halls of Congress. And then,
so what is this?
This says you can't erase us, Nancy. Well, then you shouldn't try to erase women. That's what I have to say for any man that wants to be in a woman's restroom, bathroom, dressing room, locker room. Absolutely not.
Now, to be clear, this lady, or this Sarah, congressman's woman from Delaware, said that they would go into the men's bathroom in Congress. So now Congress, the House of Representatives controlling its own chamber, is going to pass a resolution that you have to use the men and women's restrooms or whatever. And so that was, and Nancy Mace, having been a victim of rape, was like, heck no, I don't want to deal with this. Puts the biological woman thing up there and caused all this. And now we've got all this debate in Congress and Democrats are acting victim. Just want to get y'all's reaction before I give my take.
Okay, so I'll go first. So I think that it's great that she is standing up for this, for the future women. Speaking of our children, right? I think it's disgusting that we would even allow that. I just want to remind everybody that just because somebody's running for Congress or running for Senate or running for whatever it might be, it doesn't mean that they're really wanting to do it for a change that's going to be really greater. They might feel that way, right? But the change that they want, that people want to bring, sometimes politicians, is going to hurt our future. And that's exactly what we need. We need people to stand up and say, hey, listen, we're not going to take this, right? We're not going to be okay with this if you try to do this. So that's my personal take on that. I don't know about how they went about it, right? Did she do it maybe to make noise or to be heard? I don't know. But I don't know, Michelle, would you have gone about it like that, or what do you think?
I don't know. Don't erase women. We have spent so long to get here to where we are. And as soon as we got to where we are, they're coming in and they're in our sports and they're taking over our bathrooms. And I don't think that they should. Now, do they have a place? Sure. Do I believe that there's other opportunities and other options? Sure. But I think it shouldn't be what we're focusing on. I'm sorry, but this is not an issue that we should be focusing on when people can't eat, when people can't put food in their bellies or pay a light bill. Having the argument right now, I think it's more so read the room. Do I think that there's a point in time that we need to talk about it? We need to address it. We need to absolutely take care of it. Yes. But I think right now our focus should be getting us into a united front and bringing that prosperity back to America for the middle class and for those families that are struggling, because really bathrooms are not their issue. Their issue is how are they going to put food in their table? They're going to fill their tanks, or they're going to pay their electricity bill right now.
I thought it was a political loser for this congresswoman in Delaware to come out and say that she's going to do all this, or Congress transgender in Delaware to do all this. And I thought it was politically smart. So I agree with everything with Michelle said. I know what I'm about to say is going to sound like I contradict Michelle, but I don't. I'm just giving you a political analysis, which is I think Nancy Mace was smart to jump on it, because do y'all remember that commercial that said Trump? It was for Trump, and he said, Harris is with they, them. I'm with you. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So that commercial, okay, when you rate commercials, it's either -5 all the way up to +5. If you can get half a point one direction, or that's about the most you get. That thing tested at 2.5 plus for Trump. And so that's why they played it over and over again. Why did it play that much? Because it resonated with people. People don't like this transgender thing. So the Democrats doing this and the Republicans, especially Nancy Mace, as a rape victim, unfortunately, jumping all over this. I mean, it just makes the Democrats. It's a political loser for them. Why they're continuing to fight this and they're not learning from this last election to stop walking on these bombshells, is beyond me. So they're not learning that the American people want to talk about what Michelle exactly talked about. But you can't. I won't blame Republicans for jumping on it because it's easy points to score, and these people need to be defeated on the men and women's sports thing. So you cannot take your foot off the gas in defeating this transgender ideology. It's unfortunate that Democrats keep cropping up, but it's on them to stop cropping up so we can talk about the real issues. Because the moment we give them an inch, they're going to keep going. It grows into this DEI tree again, which I'm glad all those things are going away.
I just don't think I don't think that this was the right time and the right opportunity. Right. I mean, we're talking about you talk about Title 8 and Title 9, and doing all of that. I don't know that the Congress's bathroom was the place to start. Does that make sense? Like, there could have been, if we were going to address the transgender issue, we were going to address transgender women in sports and things like that. We should have addressed it there then, as opposed to a congressional bathroom.
That's what I'm saying though about like, that was my question. Like, was she smart to do that? Like, was it to make noise, right? Because I think that's what it was. And so like, she was able to take something and make it controversial, and that's what social media is about. To be like, wait, what? Like, why are you? And so then people start to like talk about, why is she talking about that? Or finally she's talking about this or whatever. So I guess it blew up in a good way for her, but that still doesn't mean that it probably wasn't done the right way or at the right time, like you said, reading the room. But I do believe she was smart about it to brand it on social media and make a big deal about it.
Oh, she was great for social mediaing it. Oh, you want to talk about getting that message out? She was brilliant at that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably disagree with both of you guys that I think when it comes to transgender ideology, it's more than just sports. It's more than drag queens in a library. To me, every opportunity you have to take a chance to squash it, so this way it does not grow into something else. Because I working at Fortune 500 for 7 years, I saw this thing creep up. Nobody's saying anything, and it just grows. So I just need these people need to be defeated on the trans thing, and it will turn into what the Democrats think. I believe it will turn into what the Democrats thought that we were with the abortion issue in like 2022. This will be the social issue that. I mean, it was in this election that helped us grab the middle, essentially, and the middle ran to us. We didn't even have to go to them. We just were like, "Hey, this is crazy."
Yeah, and there's also like the champions, right? Like you champion a specific thing, and so she's really branding herself in that area and saying, "This is what I'm going to stand up for. This is what I'm doing." And so, I agree with you, Matt, that there's has been a huge fight, and I'm sure Michelle has seen it. There's been a huge fight in the background. Parents going to school boards and fighting against these things, and whatever opportunity people are getting to be able to talk against this, it has helped to really minimize that. Because if we do let it get to that point, then we are able to have people run politics in the left side. Why? Because if there's that many people, and so like to put it like in this manner, and let's just say public schools. In public schools, if it's okay to be teaching all this ideology and all that, our American children are going to grow up and they're going to think that this is the normal stuff, that this is how it works, that whatever it might be. But really, why aren't we teaching them civics and all that, right? So anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But my point is it all kind of like stems back from that, and then it builds up, and then you have this monster and you're like, what in the world happened?
Mm-hmm. How do you think the Democrat, because they're clearly embarrassed by it and corporations are ditching the DEI, like Walmart got rid of it. How do y'all think the Democrats ditch this issue? Because at least the top tier smart ones like a Nancy Pelosi or Schumer, they surely know this is a loser issue. I don't see. To me, it's just as far as ditching it, there's got to be a way that.
I think too, and I don't know. Is it is it truly a culture war, or is it an era? Does that make sense? is it going to be just a short time, a blip in our time where this portion, these last 8 years or 10 years, that this push came up, have we hit that peak right now to where that era has now, we're now over the hump and we're now going to be putting it in? Because I mean, you think about it, like Gabriella, when you look at the type of the folks that are transgender, and you look at some of the mental illness that comes with their history, they generally come from broken homes, or they're having some sort of identity issues. And as a teen, and if you don't have somebody guiding you on that right path, or on the flip side, you have those folks that are, yes, you are a boy, yes, you are a girl, where they're coddling you. If you don't have the proper people, like, it's a phase. I don't know, I hate to use the word it's a phase, but pushing through and saying, hey, we know that's not really you, you're going through some things. Let's really open that up and let's see what is really going on internally, to see if that's really how you feel. Are you really feel that way? Because at the end of the day, I think it's more so of people looking to belong to a group and not getting the pushback from people. Because I mean, I went through, as a teenager, I went through multiple phases of who the hell am I? Am I wearing Jinkos today, or am I wearing, the grunge back in the 90s? You guys called it emos in 2000s. And then it went on to, I don't know what emo is now, but I really hope that this is just an era and we've hit the tipping point, and now we've got to the point where we can actually make the changes, get the transgenders out of our bathrooms, and move on.
Yeah, I think I think I'll always kind of point it back spiritually. I think there's always a fight, evil versus good. There's always that fight happening. I have seen definitely I think we've all seen the progression happening. I would love to say it's era, and I believe that what Michelle is saying is so true. If we have education and we're able to pour into our educational school system, hint, hint, through America, we would have the greatest. I mean, we already have the greatest country, but it would be even like, whoa, oh my goodness, because our children are being prepared. We talk about how people who are coming, immigrants, in order for you to become a citizen, you have to take a civics test. Why? Because you have to know America. Why aren't our children taking civics tests? Things like that I just believe are so core and foundational that I didn't even learn until later on. And like Michelle said, these children come from broken places, broken families, just like me. I came from very broken places, very broken family. Our mindsets were very different. We didn't really understand why people believe certain things here in America. But growing up, I was able to see that. And that's why, man, I'm just so passionate about talking about it, because, it is the greatest country. But if we pour into our children and we prepare them, just like we see videos that children are being poured into, and they know how to, I don't know, cook. I have 4 kids. I have 4 kids. I homeschool them. My 4-year-old daughter is doing her laundry. You know what I mean? Like, we have to be able to teach these kids to be like strong in their mind. Like you said, Michelle, let's not cuddle them. Let's yeah, of course, give them love, but toughen them up, like teach them about life, teach them how it really works to be self-sufficient, stuff like that. And so that's what I believe, like, our children need to be able to raise them up into that strong mindset and come out of that era. I would love to say that you're totally right about that.
Yeah, I agree with you too, Michelle. Like, strong family, like basically the nuclear family, right? Keeping it together. If I had to go on a macro sense, divorce has caused a lot of problems. I know there's a lot of justified divorce, abuse and stuff too. But the breaking up of the family, and then the schools having to babysit, and I won't say babysit, but it depends where you are. Like I've seen that where the school system, the teachers, the culture of the school is just not there. That's why they're ranked really low versus the higher ranked ones at public schools, right? And then the kids aren't learning anything. They get involved in the wrong crowd. The parents aren't around, so the school ends up being the parent, and so then they either right. That's why we always
The streets
had
become the parents, not the school.
the
That's
streets become the parent. That's why it's always an amazing story when we watch these movies. It's like, whoa, this guy got out of a tough school, tough situation, and he made it because he realized he had a paradigm shift and was like, boom, I'm gonna go. But it's hard to sometimes. Just like when we tried to do Operation Iraqi Freedom and we tried to go over to the Middle East and say, hey guys, democracy's here, and nobody cared. We can't go sometimes into some of these cultures and try to fundamentally change it. They have to sort of do that from within. Okay. And America is a great country. The opportunities are always there. And I think the most we can offer to some of these cultures, some of these families, is giving them a helping hand, like the maternity home centers or these pregnancy centers. That's a way to extend a helping hand to mothers who absolutely could pick an alternative from abortion. All you can do is extend that olive branch, and I think that would make America better from every aspect of life. It doesn't even have to be the abortion thing. I know that's that's a big thing for me, so it's always on my mind. But just extending the olive branch, and that's how we get America back to a more moral society. When you get back to a more moral society, you get these weird transgender ideologies sort of kicked out of America. But ultimately, if we can get it kicked out of the Democrat Party, because we don't need a major political party having this as an issue. So I'm personally, it would be easy for me as a Republican to root for the Democrats to continue on this horrible ideology of transgender because I could win. But I really don't want that for America to have a major political party having this ideology. I really wanted it root out of the Democrat Party so we can have fundamental debates like Michelle was talking about, real debates on economic issues that are impacting everybody. So if I can help you Democrats get rid of it so we can get sort of to a level playing field and talk about real issues, I'm all for it. I will help you out. I know that was a little rant there. The last
great segue.
Great segue.
Two. What are we at? We're at 8:00.
We're at 8:00. Do we want to end it out on rant and raves?
We could do
What
that.
do you guys want to do?
Let's go.
Let me get my rant and raves thing. I gotta find it because we have to play. We worked so hard on this.
Rant and raves.
All right, I'll let y'all kick off the rant and rave here.
I will totally start it off. My rant is the Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau came out yesterday, something like that, and said that the average cost of a 10-person Thanksgiving meal has decreased 5%. And get this, for 10 people, you can feed them for $58.08 only. I don't know where you can get all of the fixins. Now, there is a girl going viral on TikTok that goes to the Dollar Tree and shows you how to make $20 Thanksgiving meals, but that's without the turkey. You're getting like canned turkey and stuff. It's Dollar Tree, which is a great. I think she's doing just a really good service for struggling families who are hungry and who still want to have the Thanksgiving feast. But my rant is no way, absolutely not. And I'm looking here. And so what they say is 1 16-ounce can of green peas is $1.73. And I don't know how much one can for you goes amongst a family of 10, but one can can't feed our family of 4. So my rave is there's absolutely no way that you can feed a family of 10 or a group of 10 on $58 for a full Thanksgiving meal.
You get 3 green beans.
It's green bean rationed.
Man, Michelle, I knew you like Dave Ramsey living on rice and beans, but I didn't know you were taking it.
No, that's true.
the
Though.
next
Like,
level.
seriously,
I love my Ramsey rice and beans.
Yeah, like I have. It's 6 of us here, and it's like $60 just to eat regular food. I can't imagine a Thanksgiving dinner. You know what I mean? So, but I'll move on to mine. So my rant is, so Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, and I'll keep it in the Thanksgiving theme. But I love to eat like the turkey, the all that. But my spouse is like, yeah, let's not do turkey this year. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I wait our year to eat turkey, and so he was like, okay, well maybe we could get you a personal one, but we don't want turkey. And I'm like, you like seriously don't want to make turkey? Like this is crazy. Anyways,
what do they want instead?
They want tamales instead. They want tamales. So my Mexican family wants tamales. But I don't know if you've so this is my rant. My rant is actually that I can't find good tamales. So I don't know if you've heard this, but there's this thing going viral called the Liz Lopez tamales. And so I guess there's this lady and she's complaining because they gave her tamales and they're like super thin. And she's like, don't order from Liz Lopez. And so all these people who get these Yankee tamales are like, did Liz Lopez make these? You know, and that's how I feel. Like, can I just find someone who's not have Liz Lopez tamales, please? And so if you're in Las Vegas, Matt, I'm gonna need you to give me this clip. If you're in Las Vegas and you have good tamales, I need to know, please. No Liz Lopez tamales.
Gabriela, I have to tell you, so our Christmas tradition at the in-laws' house is Christmas enchiladas. So for Christmas dinner, the Norwegian, Swedish, Italian caucus family with zero Latin in their bloodline, like zero anywhere. There's nothing. We make Christmas enchiladas.
I love that. That's so good. So
Oh,
good.
they are good.
One quick question for you, Gabriela. Because I know I'm getting into Christmas here, but I've always been curious. Every time I see Christmas movies and they're out west, they have those big light bulbs. You know what I'm talking about? Is that a thing?
What do you mean?
Like they have these the big light bulbs for Christmas lights.
Big, like huge light bulbs, like
yeah. Is that a thing like everyone does out there?
So in Las Vegas, there's this. We're very artificial out here. So out here, you'll see all the snow globes, all the big lights, I mean, it's like a competition on who can like decorate their house the most out here. And it's not usually Christmas lights. It's usually big blow up stuff and big crazy lights. So yeah.
Okay.
Even in the streets right now, like if you drive down the street, they decorate the streets and everything.
That's amazing. So that's my rant. It's like, look, I'm that guy. I put my Christmas lights up early. Now I don't do it like a week early. I did it like 2 days ago. Okay. Mainly because I'm getting ready to leave for Thanksgiving to go to the in-laws. But everybody needs to take the Christmas spirit in if we want to take back America. And when I drive down my street, this is the first time I'm in this neighborhood. And some people put stuff up, but I go all out. I'm not expecting everyone to go all out, but please light up. Like, just go buy $5 lights at Walmart. Please. I love Christmas lights. I take it very seriously. My son and I get the Twinkly brand. This is a plug-in for Twinkly. We're not paid to say this, but if you go to Twinkly, you can get the really cool app, and you can change everything. I love that. I research all the lights. In fact, I'm so. This I don't know if this is random rave. I'm just gonna say whatever. But the after Christmas, this is how engaged I am. I will go get Christmas lights on sale. They're like 75% off, and Twinkly gives really great. And they're usually like $400 lights. You can get them for $100. Please take advantage of that and engage in the Christmas spirit, America. It's good for you. Don't lose it. So
I would agree that a lot less people decorate now, even for Halloween, for anything really. I don't decorate for Halloween. I decorate for things. For Christmas for sure.
I don't even care if you get the little globe thing and it's LEDs all your house. That's cool too. Please, I think that's cool. You're not offending me, but cool, guys.
But you'll offend me if you don't decorate.
No, if you don't decorate. That's funny. Well, guys, thank y'all for joining us. We will be back next Thursday, so a little longer than usual. But be sure to check out America Latina, the Clayton and Javen show, and my show on the YouTube and at those handles. So y'all have a blessed evening and enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Bye.